Well, hey, I wasn't expecting anybody. I'm just relaxing, lounging. Come on in. This is actually my very first action figure that I've ever had. I remember getting it at Byway with my mom. I cherish it. It's amazing how a little piece of plastic can hold so much value and sentiment and memory. It's a Rob Da Silva action figure. It's pretty cool. Tattoos and everything.
From practically the day we are born, toys spark our imagination and teach us about the world. Toys become our companions and become a part of our self-identity. As we become grown-ups, we're expected to put away childish things, but toys are tangible connections to happy times, to birthday parties and family holidays and playdates with childhood friends. This is a story about the young at heart who understand the joys of toys. Nobody understands the joy of toys better than Robbie Da Silva. Robbie runs a shop called 3D Vintage Toys Stuff and Things in Peddler's Village at the St. Jacobs Farmers Market in Waterloo, Ontario. Every day, Robbie meets customers who feel a deep personal connection to some peculiar item on his shelves, and on the best of days, the one elusive item someone has sought in a lifetime of collecting.
It's something that you can't put into words of how much of an influence he's been on me.
Now there's a guy that I'm always going to come back to because he's giving the time of day to my son and making him feel like there's no one else in the world focused in on him, and that's it.
He gets it. Like that's exactly it. He 100% gets it. I think because he's a collector himself, there's not a lot of people like that.
He understood what I was trying to do, what I'm trying to buy, and it was nice to share stories. His stories, my partner's stories.
He has found me so many wonderful things for my collection, and he knows with my spouse, birthdays and Christmases, sometimes he's connecting with him. He found me a strawberry shortcake, almost like a BMX type bike that has strawberry shortcake on the seat and on the wheels, and they orchestrated that. It was there under the tree, just like I was 8 years old again, came down, and there it was, waiting for me, not wrapped, just a bow on it.
I'm Robbie Da Silva, owner of 3D Vintage Toys, Stuff and Things. The 3D stands for Darren, Desmond, and Daddy. That's the three of us. I am Daddy, and then my two sons, Darren and Desmond. I was born in 1979. Growing up, with a single mother, and I had two older brothers, and pop culture was very important to me. From Saturday morning cartoons to late night TGIF to seeing what's on the prime time and sitting around with your family watching sitcoms, which just doesn't happen today, So I was very lucky in my childhood that I was connected to these things, whether it was playing outside with my G.I. Joes and making little habitats for them, or reading my comic books in a fort that I made in my room just to escape and be in my own world. That was the greatest time for me, and I have such a connection to pop culture because that made me who I am. That was my world, and I do what I do so I can keep a piece of that world with me.
My name is Luis Barrera. I'm of Latin American descent, and I would like to introduce you to my pony collection. So my first My Little Pony, I remember going to the store and seeing all these many different kind of My Little Ponies, and my mom said, okay, you can choose one, just pick one. So my very first My Little Pony was Peekaboo baby pony. This is not the original pony that I have with me, but I managed to buy it on box, on card, and I was so proud. When I found Peekaboo baby pony on eBay, I was so happy because I was searching and searching and searching, and I had a budget, and I saw this particular toy, and I was like, okay, it's affordable. I'm gonna get it. I'm not gonna wait. It's now or never. My specific memory with this pony was making a stable for it. So I would use popsicle sticks, and I would glue them and put the pony inside. Yeah. Hours of fun, yeah. My first memory of playing with toys, especially with My Little Ponies, was that I was at peace. I was having fun, and I was just being myself, and I was happy as a child. They brought me joy. They're very colorful, as you can see. My collection is specifically Generation 1 My Little Ponies. I want to be clear that I'm not a brony. I'm more interested in the vintage My Little Pony collection. People, when I show pictures of my collection, they're like, "Where are you? Are you at a toy store?" I'm like, "No, it's my collection." They're like, "Are you for real?" I'm like, "Yes." I'm like, "Do you want to come to the house and see them in person?" I'm like, "Yeah, for sure." And when they come here and they see it for the first time, they're like, "Oh my God, I used to have this. I used to have that. Wow. You're crazy, but wow."
A really important toy for me growing up was my Shira dolls. I loved My Little Pony. I loved Dinky Cars. I think it's funny saying that because I don't know if I'm dating myself. They're Hot Wheels Dinky Cars. But Shira was super important to me. I played for hours upon hours with her. But I think why she was so important to me is at the time, Thundercats and Transformers were on TV, He-Man, even Hercules. I don't know if anyone remembers that one, but and then She-Ra came on, and I just remember looking at this female figure and thinking, "Oh my gosh, she's so cool. She's powerful. She's this kind of woman that I want to be." And so I was really drawn to her. Here's my She-Ra doll. I loved her so much. I couldn't part with her when I was little, and I carried the dolls with me through. How many times have I moved? 20 times maybe. I don't know. I pack them every single time and take them with me everywhere I go.
My name is Jacob Chikeen. I live in Ingersoll, Ontario. Been there all my life. I'm 22 years old and I own a antique and collectible store run out of my place of residence in Ingersoll, fully online, called Chikeen Collectibles. Deal with all sorts of vintage toys, various antiques, all the good stuff that everybody loves. Well, I think I grew up in, it almost feels like the last generation where we really used our imagination playing with stuff. I always cherish those memories, right? So it's fun to see every generation also have that with what I'm doing now. Everybody wants their childhood toys back. A lot of people think that they're just kind of, hunks of plastic, but they're a lot more than that, right? It's a full memory. It's a full childhood. Everybody has memories down to Saturday mornings with their toys, right? And they never go away.
My name is Dave Chikeen, and I am Jacob Chikeen's father of Chikeen Collectibles. My earliest recollection of toys was receiving at Christmas time Best of the West and Johnny West, and I'll never forget that. It was a great time for me. The simplicity of it, when it comes to toys, that's what's most important for me. It's bringing you back to a very simpler time. It's about the passion of it.
All right, well, my name's Drew Hendricks, and really big Ghostbusters fan. Been that way since I was a small child. So my first memory of the toy aspect of Ghostbusters comes from garage sales. My parents did a lot of garage sales. It's pretty much what we do on a Saturday morning is drive around and hit all the ones that were in the classified section. Yeah, it's I don't necessarily go around and boast about it. Sometimes I get, people are like, "Oh, you collect toys." I kind of do. Yeah, I kind of have a room in a house. Some people have, expensive cars. I have a room with shelves and a wallpaper that makes it look exactly like the firehouse from Ghostbusters. My wife was gracious enough to allow me that to kind of take over a room and set it up because I haven't had that since I was a kid. Pretty much, I've been moving. It's been in boxes and everything. So I get a lot of like, okay, and they don't get it. And 9 times out of 10, we get talking about it, and I think I can speak passionately enough about the subject that they start to understand after a few minutes and are like, okay, well that's cool. And then honestly, the more people that I show it to, they're like, oh yeah, I really loved Power Rangers when I was a kid. I wonder if my parents still have those Power Rangers toys. And then, I'll talk to them in a few weeks and now they're on eBay buying a Megazord. You know what I mean? It's like, I think it kind of triggers some emotions in them too.
What was on my mind when I was thinking about playing and what it has meant to me was the idea of daydreaming and softness, and that's been a real theme in my life. So these are my stuffed animals from when I was a baby. This one in particular, my mom got at my baby shower. It's an elephant. It has lasted the test of time somehow. I got this Care Bear as well, and I brought it. And my dad gave this to me, so it's just very special to me. I've had it for a very, very long time. So this is my favorite bear. This is Snuggie. I've had him since I was 7. And I remember it like when we were little, we didn't have like a ton of money. And I wanted this really expensive bear from this department store in the States when we were traveling. And I'm pretty sure my parents were like, no, come over here and buy this bear from the bin. And so I got Snuggie on this trip in Chicago. And Snuggie has basically stayed with me as my like special stuffy. I would sleep with Snuggie even through like high school. Can I admit this? Like university, I took Snuggie to university with me. Snuggie's missing an eye. There's the missing eye because of one of our pets back in the day decided to take Snuggie's eye. So poor Snuggie. Took one for the team.
My name is Courtney McMaster, and I collect 80s toys, especially E.T. and Strawberry Shortcake. I can remember from as early as possible, my mom always made sure I had the It toy. I was never without because she was a single mom. So I remember having Cabbage Patch Kids and dolls. Just even if I had a good dentist appointment, I got a new doll to play with. And E.T., once I saw that, there was no replacing E.T. I carried him everywhere with me, on trips, to school. I was never without my E.T. doll. I wanted to be Drew Barrymore as well in the E.T. movie. Like, we were around the same age, and I still, to this day, I used to think that I was her sister or something. Like, I thought we were the same, and we were at the same height, her and I. Like, I just wanted to hug him. Like, I don't know, and I wanted to dress him up like she did. Like, I think that I would have been her in that movie. I don't know, it's hard to explain other than that. It was just like a pet almost. As much as I love all my cats, it's not quite the same. So I just have to turn them on the bottom.
Greetings, gentle earthling. E.T., glad you're back.
And then it's like he's asleep, and then after a while he'll just light back up.
E.T., phone home.
And he says different things, but he just kind of goes off on his own sometimes.
E.T. lives far away. Green planet.
So growing up in the 80s, one of my favorite things was window shopping, or better known as looking through the catalogs of the Sears or the Bay or Consumers Distributing catalogs. And that was our window shopping back in the 80s. So I would sit on my Ford under the stairs, lined by Star Wars sheets on my walls and sitting in there with just enough light from the light bright to shine in the catalog so I could circle the things that I wanted to buy or the hopes of owning them one day. One of those pieces was a Road Pig, G.I. Joe. I didn't have a lot of G.I. Joes, but for some reason this figure just stood out. And I circled it, and I was adamant that I was going to save my money and my allowance, and I was going to get one of these. So I believe it was the summer of 1988, and I had to save up. And it felt like forever, felt like an unattainable goal. And I had to wait for my older brother to walk me over to the store one day because I wasn't old enough to walk over by myself. I finally got it. I finally saved up enough money and allowance and ended up getting them over at Zeller's, I believe it was. And this is one of my favorite figures that I have from my childhood, Road Pig from the G.I. Joe 1988. And it's very special to me because it taught me patience. It taught me perseverance. It taught me work. I had to work for it. This guy's just funky. He's cool. His haircut's awesome. He's got a tattoo. And I don't want to blame him for my tattoos, but there's quite a possibility that he influenced me a little bit. Him and maybe Bam Bam Bigelow.
Toy shows are a labor of love and a community unto themselves. Everyone seems to know each other and be on the lookout for the best items for their loyal customers. And maybe their own personal collections.
So exciting to be able to go back out and to see everybody again, because you do start to recognize people when you go to the same shows and see them in antique places, just to see really cool things that you totally forgot about from your childhood, still out there and still making other people happy. Do you have any surprises for me today?
You know what? I don't think I have anything, but there's a lot of really cool stuff around here. I noticed tons of strawberries.
You've already scoped everyone out?
There you go. The house, you don't know the house.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Eric might have to build an addition for your addition.
Yeah, when I go to the toy shows, I do as I'm driving there, I want to be there early. I don't want somebody else to scoop that item that I don't have yet up first. When I go, I'm looking for strawberry shortcake. I'm looking for ET. But I'm also excited. Maybe there's something I don't even know that I want. So I do know I have to slow down and really look and like dig through bins because who knows what I might find. But for the most part, I get really anxious. What if I'm missing it? What if I'm taking too much time here and that booth 3 booths down has what I want? So it's a struggle back and forth. Okay, live in this moment, take this time to look for things, but hurry up.
I've been collecting for probably 20 years. So what I'm selling is my personal collection. A lot of this is just excess stuff that I'm downsizing. I love collecting because I've been a child at heart my whole life. I've always had Barbies, I've always had dolls, and it just brings out the child in me. So I'd purchased the Happy Home Strawberry Shortcake House a few years ago, probably about 7 years now. In my collection, it was like the holy grail for me. Always wanted to collect it. And a young lady named Courtney walked by. She has a beautiful collection of strawberry shortcake stuff. And she was really excited to find it. And I was really excited to have it for her and give it to her. And she purchased it. And I hope it's going to live on through someone else. So once was my collection, now it's someone else's to enjoy. Toys have always brought me joy ever since I can remember. It's always been my happy place. I have a toy room of my own that I have vintage Barbies pre-1973, and I do have some Monster High, and I do have some vintage 80s stuff left. He-Man, She-Ra, all those things that I remember playing with. And when I see them, it brings me joy. I love to display them, and I enjoy toys. It just brings back the inner child, and I love it.
I kind of forgot what it was like to say go to a toy show or a store or something and just be in a booth or a place in the market that has so much stuff that you get overwhelmed. You kind of want to make sure you're looking at it all, you're not missing anything, but you're also rushing because there's a little bit of fear maybe somebody's behind you looking for the same thing, right? I'd really forgotten what that was like, and it was fun to get back out doing that again once the lockdown ended. One thing with the whole toy community that I came to discover was Instagram. I signed up for an account shortly before the reboot came out in 2016. I just found this incredible community of like-minded individuals, and they're always telling you, well, you should check this place out, you should check this place out. And one of the places a friend told me about was Rob's shop. I saw he put up a post with some toys, some Ghostbuster stuff in there, and that was kind of my introduction to him, is going in there and essentially rating what he had just purchased off somebody and picking out what I really needed. Yeah. So right around that time that he started posting some Ghostbuster stuff, I was working in Toronto, and I knew that I needed to get in there and get it fast, otherwise somebody was going to snap it up. So one of the items he had was the car from the second movie, and obviously being a big Ghostbusters 2 guy, that's what I really wanted when I was a kid. So funny enough, a lot of vendors have a way of reading through your poker face when you go into their store. So they won't put prices on the items. They'll kind of pull a number out of the hat or gauge your reaction and base the price off of that. So knowing this, I sent my wife in there because I knew if I went in there and saw it, game over. I would have completely freaked out. It's something that I've been chasing for a really long time. And so I sent her in there, and I'm like, okay, Lauren is my wife's name. You have to play this completely cool. You can't jerk. You can't do anything, get excited, because these guys know that. And again, I didn't know Rob, and Rob's very much not that type of person at all. So he's one of the better ones out there. And, it's something I've come to appreciate about him, obviously. But so I sent her out there, and I'm like, okay, take pictures, and I'm gonna tell you which one to get, but make it look like you're not taking pictures because we don't want him to find out. And so she did, and eventually she ended up with this, which is the Ecto 1A from Ghostbusters 2. And it's something that I wanted a lot when I was a kid, so much so that I had a couple of the original cars. And here's another one. I tried to make it myself. So I've got, I wrote call the number on the side, and that's literally like a sticky note that's been taped on. I spelled where wrong because I was a child, so I still have this, but I didn't have the actual toy. So when I saw it pop up on Rob's shop, I knew I had to send her in to go and get it, and then obviously this is it. So excited that I took it out of the box. I had to put the decals on it, which didn't stick anymore, but I couldn't do reproduction decals because it wouldn't be the real thing. So here it is. This is the grail of my collection, realistically, and I've got Rob to thank for that.
When I tell people what I do, it's a very mixed reaction, because when I tell people at a toy show per se what I do, they totally get it. They say, yep, this is some great stock. Totally makes sense that you need to do it full time. There's a lot of work here. Whereas if I tell some of my friends my age, they're a little, oh, really? They don't fully understand it. What if you look for a real job? It's certainly something that I've heard before.
The anticipation of not only the day before, but it's actually after the last toy show ends. You're prepping for the next toy show to come up. So the preparation, the anticipation of everything, filling the van, going, do you think we have enough? No, I think we can bring a little bit more, And then once you get there and you finally see that end result, you have everything out on the table. The lineup outside is 3 rows deep of people just willing and able. They just want to come in and see what's out there. The best part of the toy show is looking at my son's expression on his face and looking at me and go, well, Dad, this is it. Here we go. It's a joyous occasion for me.
I just want to make sure I got the right name because they have a specific name. So this is Mimic Generation 1, and she's really sought after. So on eBay, she's going for $300 up. I purchased her for $150 4 years ago. Yeah. Mimic is rare. If you don't have Mimic in your collection, you're not a collector. On a searching day, out in the wild, they call it, during the weekends, we go to thrift stores. And I'm always excited to see if I could find a pony that I've been looking for. And when I do, I'm ecstatic. I'm happy because I'm like, yes, I now I have this pony now that I've been looking for years or for months, So this pony is My Pretty Pony, and My Pretty Pony is the mother of mothers. Like, she is the pony that started all this collection. And I was so psyched when I saw her from afar. Her blue little eyes were like sparkling, and they were like just looking at me from afar. I was like, is this it? I saw her at Value Village, and I was like, it can't be. And I went closer to the shelf, and I was like, yes, it's her. I looked at the price, and it was $3.99, I believe. But on eBay, she's going for like $50 a pop. I was so excited.
By night, Robbie works as an overnight counselor at a home for at-risk youth. His own journey to mental wellness is a source of wisdom that provides patience and support for these kids, but it is also a job that requires a lot of emotional energy.
I grew up without my real father, but when I was about 13, my stepfather came into my life, Pat, and right off the bat, we had a huge connection. We connected with classic rock music, and he taught me a lot about things that I never really experienced. We would go to flea markets and garage sales and then start going to toy shows, and it was amazing. Some days we would go to 2-3 places one day, and we were just traveling around the back roads, hanging out, bonding, and it was really good memories. So things weren't always easy. There was always ups and downs, bumps in the roads. For the most part of my child's life, I was a single parent, raising them and doing the best I can. Around 2016, things were kind of really low. I was in a deep depression. I was on disability from work. I had a neck injury, kind of sitting around and wondering, what am I doing with my life? I have all these ideas. I have these talents. I have all the support around me telling me I should do more and I should, take advantage of my skills and my talents. And depression just didn't allow me to do that. I think breaking the cycle is very important, and it's easier said than done. it's hard. You know, I see that at work. I see that in my own life. I guess you're wondering what my shirt means. I know you read it. I've been talking for a while. Off slaying scary monsters. Rope returns shortly. This means so much to me. My youngest son, Desmond, was working with me, and he would, help out, which is a great help, his part of 3D. And he made a sign that he would put on the desk on our counter for when he would take a quick break. And he's living in Alberta now. And one day I was just sitting there looking at it, and I just was thinking about him and missing him. And I said, you know what? That's an amazing metaphor. A metaphor for mental health, for the battle that we go through every day.
Meet Robbie's sons Darren and Desmond Da Silva, the other two Ds in 3D Vintage. Both grew up helping their dad at the shop.
My dad's just that creative person. Like I don't know, he's always doing something and creating something. I've never not seen him chase a project, see him accomplish everything he's ever wanted.
So the kids get this little bag. It's kind of neat. It's mysterious. And they open it up, and inside is their little monster.
And doing that collecting and hobby just kind of helps distract him from like the harsh realities of his day job. The work my dad does is appreciated by a lot of people. It's kind of like he's my dad, so like I don't see it and like experience it, but the impact that he's had on a lot of people and just our community in general is admirable and inspiring.
Hello, my name is Darren. I'm son of Rob Da Silva. I would say 3D Vintage is a good thing for my dad because a lot he does with his actual job can be a little depressing sometimes and really weigh down on you. I'd say mostly for maybe his mental health, it gets him out and, conversing and talking with people, meeting new people, making new friends, and just new experiences in general. I think it's really helped him.
My earliest memory of Ghostbusters is my parents got this VCR, and my dad was really excited. He was recording absolutely everything at the time, and CTV did a broadcast of Ghostbusters 2 on, I want to say it was sometime around 1992 or 91. And of course, he recorded it off of TV, and I got to watch that one, and I was really drawn to the way it looked visually. The effects were incredible. The story was incredible. Oddly enough, the pink slime really got me. And I watched that like on nonstop for probably a good 3 weeks. And oddly enough, my dad worked in an auto body shop, and he got a bag full of rags one time. And this was in and around that same time. And in that bag of rags was actually the shirt that I'm wearing right here. With me and Ghostbusters, I think it's just one of those things that grabbed me at such a young and impressionable age. And not to get all sappy about it or anything, but you watch, shows, you talk to other people who collect certain things, and they all come from a standpoint of that's what they did before things kind of took a turn in their life. And, obviously things happen and you get older and you have to deal with things a different way. But when you're a kid and you have this kind of blind innocence that you're not cognizant of what's going on around you. So I was really into Ghostbusters when I was a child, and my parents ended up getting a divorce, and that's what happens, and that's fair. But for whatever reason, I link Ghostbusters back to that happy period before the divorce, and before I had to necessarily accept the fact that things happen that you can't always control. So for me, it's very much a comfort level. I go and I put these movies on, and it takes me back to that feeling that I had when I was a kid before, and again, not to get all sappy, but before the world turned, so to speak. And so I will always have that feeling with these movies, with the franchise in general. It always invoked that same feeling within me. And I think that's why I always stay with it. And I can't really get tired of it, because at any given time, doesn't matter how bad of a day, week, month, year I'm having, I can just throw these movies on, and I escape. Or, I go and buy a toy, or, interact with somebody from the community. It's a full-on escape from, I guess the rigors of being an adult, so to speak. It just takes me back to being a child.
These customized ponies are special to me because they represent pride. I remember growing up with the typical Batman, Ninja Turtles, G.I. Joes, typical male toys that you were expected to play with as a male child. When I had My Little Ponies, I would bring them to school, and I was picked on. My first grade teacher spoke to my mother and said, "I feel it's best that your son doesn't bring a My Little Pony toy with him to school because he's picked on." So my mother was not very supportive of me having My Little Ponies. When I did have a My Little Pony, she would tell me to cut the mane of the hair and just leave the tail because she wasn't happy me combing the hair or braiding the hair. She felt it was too feminine. So at this point in my life, growing up and finding myself and buying things that interest me and making me happy, I said, why not? I said, they don't do anything to no one. It's just my collection. I'm in my own tranquil area. I'm at peace.
So, yeah, Shira was such an extremely important, powerful female character for me because there weren't many at the time on TV, in the toy stores, in the girls' aisle. It was mostly Barbie, My Little Pony. I mean, they're great toys. I love them. But Shira was really differentiating in that she was such a powerful figure. And that I think is really important because I would tend to want to go into the boy aisle. I loved Thundercats. I loved Transformers. So sometimes I would get my mom to take me into the boys aisle because they had some cool action figures. And Shira was the only one that I could find in the girls aisle that was a powerful female figure for me. And I find that's really important because now that I have a son, that experience as a child stuck with me. And when I brought my son to the toy store when he was little, I remember going through the aisles and the girls' aisle was pink and the boys' aisle was blue and it had guns and trucks, and the girls' aisle had bracelets and makeup and Barbies. And I just thought, man, okay, there really hasn't been an instance where we're making things a little bit more non-gender specific. And so I encouraged my son to shop in the girls' aisles. The store was his store. There was no dividing between male, female for me. So we would go through the aisles and he ended up picking out little Furbies and what is typically seen as girl toys. We had a kitchen set and things like that were really kind of gender specific. And he enjoyed playing with those toys. He had dolls. He had toys that are considered female toys. So I think that's important to make sure that you're taking your child through the toy store and not differentiating between the genders. I think girls and boys want to play with the toys that they want to play with and not necessarily ones that are just made for male, female.
So learn how to play. Let things go. Let go of some of the conditioning that we've learned and get back to that stage of childhood and adolescence where you can just do stuff for the fun of it. We need that in our world right now more than ever.
I have young boys come in and they're buying My Little Ponies, which would be considered a brony. And then I have young girls come in and they're looking for monster trucks and Godzillas and monsters. I love it. I think it's fantastic. And I really do see these families that come into the shop and it's almost like a therapy. I gave the kids a reason to wake up in the morning. How many parents tell me, oh, thank you for being here. I got my teenager out of bed because they knew they could come here and probably get a wrestler or an action figure or see what new stuff you got. So I love that I brought some families together in the last 6 years and they've made it traditions. I see the same families every Saturday, every Thursday. I've seen kids from the womb and now they're walking and handing me pictures of their favorite Transformers. It's pretty cool how I've been a fixture in these families' lives. I'm the toy guy. And there's Rob. They all know me, the crazy haired toy guy. I love that feeling. So I know when people come in there, they're transported almost like a portal, another dimension. And it's hard to describe, but it works. They come in and they just transfixed in their eyes, and they're just looking at everything. And it brings up all these memories that they forgot, things that they forgot for a reason, some things they forgot just because they forgot. So it's reconnecting with those things, seeing that Cabbage Patch doll that you totally forgot about, but now you remember how happy you were when you opened it up in 1984. Or that wrestling figure that you got from your birthday, or, just one of those things. And it just sparks that memory that you filed away long ago, and you walk in and it's just like, hey, remember me? Let's talk. It's kind of that feeling. It's like running into an old friend. Really is.
I think that there's, very few cases where you could say, hey, mom and dad, I'm going to pursue selling toys full time when you're 22. Both my parents gave me that support. I would not be here without them. And I'm living the dream quite truly. Being able to do this full time, go across Ontario, picks, finding these incredible collectibles. But it was the motivation to do it. Yes, you can do this, Jacob. Go for it. Why can't you? And that was the biggest thing. And that's what I kind of want to tell people with your kids. They'll know if something isn't working, right? If you give them the support, it's just going to motivate them further. You want your kids to be in something that they're passionate about. And that's what my dad realized with me.
I love it. I can't wait to retire and be able to work for Jacob full time for free and go picking. Trying to find something that someone else really wants, and it's going to make them happy. I always found that going out with Jacob on picks, whether it's garage selling, going to a market, antique market, or to a show, is being able to find that one thing that someone else is going to love and bring them to a happy place of where I'm at. One of the things that I tried to instill with Jacob is listen to the people that have it. Listen to what they're telling you. It's a history lesson that brings memories to them. So this toy has now had years of memories with one individual, is exchanging hands, and hopefully it brings years of memories to someone else.
To me, my toys mean happiness. When I come into this room, I forget about my worries, and I just get to sit down and just be wowed about the accomplishment that I just did. And I never thought I was going to have this collection, to be honest.
Maybe sometimes you give something away to a kid for free because it puts so much joy on their face, a big smile.
I think we're all trying to recreate our childhood in some form or another, be it with our own children. We're trying to pass down what we loved when we were kids, or just trying to find that happy place. And I think I've inspired more than a few people to kind of dig into that themselves.
Nope, I don't have children, and I won't have anyone to pass this on to. I wonder what will happen to them later. Will anybody even know what strawberry shortcake is in hopefully 40 more years when it's not my collection anymore? Where will it go from there? And it's scary to me that somebody may not know what an ET is or a strawberry shortcake is at that point in time. But I really do hope it does live on in somebody else's collection at some point, but not yet.
I remember when I was a little boy tearing open a large orange Garfield stuffy on Christmas morning. The joy I felt as I squeezed him in my arms is still tangible to me to this day. I had night terrors, and as I would fall asleep, nervous about the monsters that would visit me in my dreams, I remember scratching at Garfield's big plastic eyes, knowing that it would all be okay. We could all use some of that comfort in our grown-up lives. Playtime may be about collecting, but it is also about remembering that time before our innocence was lost. Being a kid should be a big part of being a grown-up.
Big, bright world.